Hello and welcome to Learn Live Streaming with John Lacey. I'm John Lacey, as the name might suggest. This isn't a regularly scheduled show, but I have been doing a bit of editing lately, and I just find there's something fun about doing it via a live stream, so I wanted to continue doing that today. If you did see yesterday's stream, I'll give you a bit of a run through of what we've already done. So let's head over to DaVinci Resolve. We are going out live to all the various places too, by the way. So if you are watching live, say hello. Hope you're having a great time at this time of year. I know it's been a very busy year for a lot of us, so hope it's all going well. All right, so there's a whole bunch of stuff happening here. Let's actually take a step back to the cut page. I just want to make sure that I'm actually on the right project. So I am, that's great. It does remember this from previously. I will be using the speed editor too, so I can sort of scroll through and show you different things. But essentially what we did yesterday, to catch you up, is I took a couple of segments from a live stream that I did previously. And just as a bit of background, I have these two recordings that come straight out of OBS Studio. One is the stream itself, which is this section at the top, which is a horizontal stream. And then down the bottom, I also have a vertical version via the Atom vertical plugin, which is really nifty. Have as a backup, I've just synced those together. And I've done that for the entire recording. And then we came in, we grabbed some subclips from the larger clip so I can make a YouTube short, essentially. We've come in and sort of brought in some cuts, some transitions. So again, I might even just zoom out a little bit, get a better sense of this whole thing. We can see that we've got a few cuts right here. I've got some blur transitions just to indicate that I have indeed changed some things there as well. We added the captions, so I actually grabbed this caption style from another video that I've done as part of this series. And I also started working on a bit of an end screen, and I kept continuing working on that after the stream ended because it was actually a lot of fun. So let me just play this last little bit for you. Share just one little part of it. This is a good approach to do that. And all it is really a call to action saying learn more by watching the entire stream. And I do have sort of a generator in the background for this honeycomb pattern, which I do use on that show. Learn more, the image, and also just the continuation of that text. So what I want to do today is take this same clip a little bit further. So I imagine this probably, and I must admit, I'm not a genius when it comes to DaVinci Resolve. I probably don't know the best way of doing a lot of these things. My big thing is just don't be scared of the technology and have a play, because we can always hit undo. We can always save a version of this project and try again if we need to. Okay, cool. Business Growth Ready writes, the end screen looks nice. Thank you very much. And I guess the great thing about this is an hour-long live stream, and I feel like there are some very good tips in here. And I feel like I don't normally do enough with those tips. Like once the live is done, I probably don't even promote it. So what I want to do is actually call out these clips and have them as shorts. I don't know if it's going to set the world on fire, but it's definitely worth a try. But what I want to do actually is, you'll see at the top of the screen, I've got the stream itself, and this is actually where the screen capture happens. And I think it might be worthwhile if we actually duplicate this and zoom into this a little bit during different parts of the short. So what I want to do essentially is I'm going to duplicate, if I can, if it'll let me, add a track. I might even just turn off everything except that one track. And if I go select all, no, that gets everything. That's rather annoying. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm literally just going to select those, and they're only 3 clips. This whole thing only goes for like a minute and a half. But I'm going to select and copy those. And I want to paste them in here. I don't know if that did what I thought it was going to do. All right, maybe. Actually, I think it just pasted on top of the existing clips, which is not great, but let's move it. So if I just, and I guess that's like, in fact, let me undo that because I feel like there's a better way of doing this. So what we can do, we've got our empty track. Let's select all of those. I think if I hit the Alt key and drag up, there we go. That's a much better approach for this. So essentially, I've just got 2 copies of this. And what I'm going to do, and we might do this for the whole thing. And again, normally when I'm not streaming, I would actually have my vertical screen as my main display for the video so I can watch it more carefully. Today, I'm trying to monitor the comments and the chat as well, so I can't really do that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually see if we can't increase the zoom. So admittedly, this is the point at which we're taking a horizontal video and we're going to try to crop it and make it vertical. And it's not going to be perfect, but let's just see what we can do. So let's just start by actually increasing the size of this. And I'm actually, I think I'm doing this for all 3 clips at the same time. Yep. Okay, awesome. That's going to work really well. Probably want to adjust what we're actually showing here. And I'm going to show you how I like to work. And it is a bit unusual. I'll be the first person to admit this. This is kind of weird. So what we probably need to do, let's just click out of here. Let's go back and just get a sense of where on our video we actually want more of this to appear. But if we want to capture an entire display or entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, okay, this is kind of the point at which I want to actually sort of visually show this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to blade it there. And this is sort of the point at which I want to show this. I don't really want to show this other clip, and I could delete this, but I'm always a little bit nervous that I might accidentally move this in the wrong place. So again, maybe Business Growth Ready, let me know if this is a weird thing, but this is something I've done for years and years and years in all kinds of different software, is that if I don't want that clip to show, but I kind of don't want it to leave either, I just adjust the opacity to 0. So we'll see. But if we nothing. Entire display or entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click. All right, and then we'll see our clip. And it's not really, like, it's not in a great place for our purposes. So we'll have to adjust that a little bit. We might even need to do a bit of keyframing as well, but we'll figure that out as we go along. So first of all, I guess what I really, I don't know, make sure you're on the right version of this video first of all, because that could ruin our day. In fact, let me just lock everything that I don't want to be playing with today, because I don't really want to make any accidents. And I might need to introduce some other elements back into this video for reasons that will become apparent in a moment. Hello, livestream consultants. Great to have your company today. It is actually Monday morning here, but I take it it's afternoon with you. Great to have your company today. We're just doing some stuff in DaVinci Resolve. I'm really just repurposing a horizontal live stream into a short format. And what I really want to do right now is just sort of adjust what is actually showing up on my screen a little bit. So the zoom seems okay to me. Let me just see if I can adjust the positioning, because you can't really see what it is that in fact, it might be too subtle. Okay, so moving across. Yep, brilliant. If I hold down shift, it might even go a little bit quicker. So what I want to do is I want to sort of indicate, just show this section here. And I might even keep going across. Oh, its cursor's moved a little bit, so it's sort of changed. There we go. So I don't know how much of that we really need, but let's just start here. I think that's okay for the moment. All right, so what happens is I start talking about this. I go down to my sources, I click add. So that's okay, but I think probably we do want to keyframe this a little bit and move it. So what I might even do, let's keyframe this here. So this is our start point. My source. Okay, the point at which I kind of want to press that add source button, I probably want to move back a little bit. And I think this will work, but I guess we'll find out in a moment. We'll keep that relatively centered. And again, let's just see what that looks like. If I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, you might want to give this a particular name. And again, we kind of want to readjust the screen, because what you're not seeing in that little section there is that we do actually have, I don't need that index. Can I turn that off? Oh, anyway, doesn't matter. All right, so what we want to do is essentially just adjust the position of our screen again. So and it's not particularly visible to me here, but I kind of wonder where this actually happens. But let's just, so we select our display capture. All right, probably the moment it disappears off the screen. What I want to do is probably go up a little bit. Or bring the screen down, rather. Again, I'm not entirely sure. In fact, this is probably a really super centered dialogue, so it probably won't be too difficult to figure out where this is mathematically. You know, it probably could have just punched in some numbers, but I don't know. Let's just do it the hard way. In fact, let's just go 150. And again, I probably need to adjust the x-axis as well, because that dialog box is definitely in the center there. Okay, cool. All right, so again, let's just see what that looks like. And I love the way that it just animates between these things. We could potentially also adjust like the curves and stuff. I'm not a huge keyframe animator, so I probably won't do a lot of this, but I just want enough of it to be seen where I want it to be. With display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Okay, so that really isn't quite what I wanted to do. And in fact, I kind of suspect I have lost my other keyframe. What happened there? Maybe I needed to actually press something to make that stick. So if I go down and click add. All right, so that's what I want there. I think what I want to do is probably just tell it to stay there for that little bit longer. And there's probably a really good way, and probably Business Growth Ready might know and might be able to tell me. But I guess the other thing too that might be worthwhile is if I actually bring this up and make it a little bit more obvious to me where these actually are. So what I'm going to do, so this is the start of our clip. Then we go to the next section. So one of them, the X value is 404, the Y value is this. I'm actually going to keep going. Click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Source, and we want to go. So I'll put another one in here. Again, we probably will be reaching the limitations of my knowledge here, but let's just give it a go. 404. All right, so let's just see what that looks like now. Do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. There's still a bit of movement there, and I'm not really sure. And again, this is probably something I can look up and learn, but let's just see if we can figure it out right now. In a CYT clip, backspace should leave a gap. Okay. So I guess what we probably should be doing, let's actually look at the keyframes over here. And I don't need to look at the index. Can I get rid of the index? I don't want to see the index. Maybe it's this one. Oh, is that part? No, that's part of the keyframes. I don't know. I don't need this. Okay. I'm sure there's a way of getting rid of it, but anyway. Timeline. Yep, great. Show marker overlays. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. But if you do know, let me know. All right, so here we actually have the keyframes and the various properties here. As far as I know, the only, in fact, zoom. Is zoom changing? Because I didn't really intend for that to happen. No, it's not. Okay, cool. All right, so what happens is we start here. We go in. We go to our sources. Eventually we move up here. And then we move there. Okay. To my sources, I click add a new source. And we want to go to display capture. So, I mean, this is kind of the point at which I want this to happen. So maybe if I put that in there. I mean, it's not really changing, but maybe 150 and 3. In fact, let's just go back here. We'll go to the next one. So, again, all right. Well, I mean, this is the joy of learning in real time, and there's always that possibility that I haven't had enough coffee this morning, so I'll take a sip. All right. So, essentially, display or entire monitor. We can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display. So let's go back to the previous one. Can I get rid of that? I'm curious to see what that'll do. It probably won't help me, but we'll try anyway. Display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add. Okay, so can I select? I can select those. Can I paste them further up? Add a source, and we want to. So I paste them there. Let's see what that does. That might help. Oh dear. See, it's funny because a lot of times people think I'm some genius, and I'm not a genius. I'm just trying my best, and I'm not scared of technology. So let's just keep going. If I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. All right, so that's pretty good, but I want to get rid of these. And I kind of just want to move these. So I'm actually holding down the control key. Display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Okay, so that's better. Again, That is definitely part of that dialog box, isn't it? I don't want the tracks or the markers. I would love to get rid of that. I don't know. It's taking up unnecessary space. And I'm not into it at all. Anyway, let's not get distracted by that. Okay. So what I like, and again, I need to go and watch some videos on how to keyframe, obviously. But I like that. That works really well. But I think what we need to do is, and I don't know if, can I zoom in here? I'd love to be able, there we go. So, okay. So now we can see that these aren't as lined up as they kind of looked like they were, which is interesting. So I'm going to, so this is to display capture. Okay. So I probably don't want that to move there. I probably want that here. Display capture. Okay. So that's what I want. I want those three. I want them to stay still until that dialog box appears, which is probably around here. To my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, you might want to give this a particular name. I'll call this one field monitor because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. Okay, great. I think that that's going to work. So what we probably need to do though at this point is actually zoom out a little bit. All right, so let's put in another keyframe. And what we're going to do, I'm going to do this for both the zoom and potentially the positioning. I don't know if I'll need the positioning, but I guess we'll find out in a moment. So what I want to do is I want to zoom out. That's probably not that much. So I want to get more of that. And it is that interesting thing that if I'm, depending on how much of this I actually want to capture, there might be a little bit of me showing through anyway, which I don't think is a disaster, but I probably, in fact, what we might do, let's just bring the position down. Okay. And let's just have a look at what that looks like. Hey, Frozen Fusion. How you doing? Just doing a bit of editing in DaVinci Resolve, just taking an old live stream and turning it into a bit of a short. This is sort of the second part of this series. So essentially what we're doing right now, I just kind of want to show a little bit more of the screen capture. So let's just go back a little bit. Okay, that's not great. So you'll see that it's adjusted. Oh no, actually that's fine. So if I go down to my source. Okay, it's pretty. All right, that is, yeah, okay, that's an unintended consequence. So I've adjusted the zoom and it has animated it in a weird place that I didn't want. So let's just Control Z, maybe undo that a couple of times. So I presume what I didn't do correctly was that I thought I did click on the zoom, but maybe I didn't. All right, let's just go back. And we want to go. Let's just try again. Again, this is all part of the process. We don't need to stress about it. This one field monitor because I don't know if that's the screen I'll be capturing. All right. Okay, let's try this again. So again, make sure I'm on the right clip. Make sure I've turned on the zoom. In fact, probably what I need to do. Let's go back to the beginning of this clip. Let's also adjust this here. Let's turn that on. So we've got that point. We're going to go to the next point. And this is where we want to adjust it. And if I was paying more attention, I would have remembered what the value is, but I didn't. So let's just go through this. Probably, I don't know, 1.2, maybe a little bit less. All right, let's just see what that looks like. So we've got that. Monitor, because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. And we've got the it's still kind of too big. Nah. All right, let's go back to our keyframe, wherever that was. Okay. So again, it's funny because I want to put the frame before we see the entire dialog box. Like I want to start resizing it then. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe 1.1 is the way to go. Let's just see what that looks like. I'll be capturing. Okay. So we see most of that. I don't know. A part of me thinks maybe it's still not great. Let's make it even smaller. Maybe we do just go back to 1. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay. And again, this is all potentially really fiddly stuff. And I just wanted to do it on stream to hang out with you guys. So I guess just to recap, like let's just go back to the beginning. So obviously I have these 2 videos from the same live stream. One is the horizontal live stream itself. One is just sort of me in vertical. I've cropped them, put them on top. If we want to capture an entire display or the entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, I want to give this a particular name. I'll call this one field monitor because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. Okay, there is something a little bit weird that it kind of zooms out and then it zooms back in again. So I've got these 2 keyframes. I feel like that's probably the right one. Okay, so it goes down to 9.2 and then it gets a little bit bigger, which is not really what I wanted. So I'm just going to delete these keyframes. Probably can just backspace that. I'll be capturing. And we've got the caption method. If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life. But this is the point at which we have our different displays. In this case, okay, I guess the other thing is I don't want to get rid of myself entirely out of this video. So there will be parts where I do kind of want to go back to the me on camera. So I'll be capturing, and we've got the caption method. And I feel like this might even be a good place to do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a breakpoint in here. If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a breakpoint there. And again, I know a lot of people would delete this clip, but just to make sure I don't get these out of order, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the opacity to 0. So now we're sort of jumping in between a lot of these things, but hopefully that makes it more visually engaging. I don't know. But if we want to capture an entire display or the entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, you might want to give this a particular name. I'll call this one field monitor because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. And we've got the caption method. If you have problems with one of these, so I don't think that's bad, but I probably don't want to do it on the I probably want to do it here actually. So let's just do it again. Let's just break that point, and again we'll just make that part of the clip transparent. Okay, so that's Yep, so we've got that. So actually I want to make this opaque again, so let's go back to 100. Alright. And I probably could like cut out that especially because I'm not on camera at that point in time. That's probably a really worthwhile thing to do, but I won't, because I'm not really doing that part of it right now. I won't dwell on it too much.
If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life.
Alright, and that's probably the point at which, although this is actually where the transition is. So I've gone to some effort to actually put this together, so I don't really want to get rid of it.
But this is the point at which we have different displays.
Oh, so that's the blur. Okay.
Yeah.
So again,
and we've got the caption method. If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life. But this is the point at which we have our different displays. But in this case, we have our different display.
okay, and I can't, like, this feels a bit ridiculous, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't know. I don't want to obscure that transition that I really like the look of. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change. Well, I guess we better find out where this needs to come back in first.
In this case, I'm just going to use my... In this case, I'm just going to use my teleprompt. So
I'm going to say, just here, I'm going to put another breakpoint into this clip. Again, let's go back and make this transparent.
this is the point at which we have our different displays. But in this case, I'm just going to use my teleprompter. You will note that it's actually...
Okay, and I think that works pretty well, but again, I think it's worthwhile that we actually come back and reposition this, because I can't, like, you can see an element of this, but it's not really enough for my purposes. Again, I'm going to turn on... In fact, I'm not going to turn on that just yet. I think we need to reposition this first, because I want just a definite starting point, and because this is actually, it's been clipped, it is in a different place. So again, that's pretty good. Probably bring this down a little bit, so I've got more context for what I'm sort of looking at. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to use my teleprompter.
You will know that it's actually...
Do I say I'm actually going to use my teleprompter? Because I don't use my teleprompter. I use my field monitor. That's a bit of an oversight, but anyway.
Not 1920 by 1080. It's a little bit smaller, which is fine for my purposes today.
All right, and I'm going to cut that there. Let's go back. This does feel like a bit of a side quest, actually.
My teleprompter, so you will note that it's actually not 1920. 1080.
All right, let's just say here.
More, which is fine for my So I'm going to select sending this.
All right, let's just say about here. And again, I'm just going to make that transparent there. So again, it's interesting because there are probably a lot of places where I could tighten this up quite a bit. And I might yet. We'll see how we go. So up until this point, we start with me talking. We go to the screenshot.
But if we want to
Screen
capture an
capture.
entire display or the entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, you might want to give this a particular name. I'll call this one field monitor because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. And we've got the caption method. If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life. But this is the point at which we have our different displays. But in this case, I'm just going to use my teleprompter. You will note that it's actually not 1920 by 1080. It's a little bit smaller, which is fine for my purposes today. So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see what's on that screen. And again, it's just that audio app. Okay, so we've actually got the app that's being shared at the top of this dialog box, but we want to see it more predominantly. So again, let's reposition this. And there's sort of a point at which you will see this visually on the screen. So let me just see if I can find that. There. Okay. So, again, let's adjust. I'll turn the zoom on. I may or may not need it. I may just need to reposition this, but we'll see how we go. I'll make this more centered. And let's bring this down as well. So that gives us a much better sense of what we're looking at. Although, let's maybe see if we can work on that being even more centered. Okay. And maybe down a little bit. Not like that. Okay. I mean, that's actually interesting because you can sort of see the canvas underneath it. So that might be instructive. I think that's okay. Let's just go back and see what that transition looks like. So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see what's on that screen.
And again, because I didn't use those original values, it just starts there for the entire clip. So if you learn nothing else from today's show, make sure you set those initial keyframes, like just turn them on, but actually at that particular place. Which, in this case, I don't think really matters to, oh, actually it probably does matter a little bit. All right, I'm going to undo that. All right, so again, we got the keyframes there. I mean, they are set there. Are they just remembered from the previous clip that's transparent, perhaps? I don't know. Anyway, let's. I'm gonna click the diamond beside both of those. Hopefully, it'll remember this, and we can go a little bit further, find that point again. It's not very far into the clip, so again, let's just turn this on. And it's funny because I'm sort of keyframing rather before I can actually see what this is going to look like. Like I haven't got the thing visually on the screen, which is super annoying. But let's just see what that looks like.
Fine for my purposes today. So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see.
So, I mean, that's not very subtle. I don't love that, really. But it is what it is. Let's see if we can go back and change that a little bit. Because this is where the keyframe starts, which is great. It's exactly what we wanted.
Select that.
So where's the next one? No, it doesn't have one. Okay. So it hasn't said that at all. All right. I'm just going to arbitrarily do this here. We won't worry about the zoom too much, but let's try. I don't know that watching me edit in real time is really that exciting, but I hope you pick up a few tips. If anyone's even still watching, I have no idea. All right, so let's go. Really want to bring this in, but again, let's bring that down even further so we do have some sense of that in the background. Although you will actually see the other video, which is still underneath that, if I move that too far down.
I'm gonna select that. My purposes today. So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually...
Okay, I actually like these keyframes, but I think they should come a little bit later. Let's try that.
My purposes today. So I'm going to select...
And what I'm going to do, because I just want it to linger on that point a little bit longer. So I'm going to paste those in again. It's probably a better way of doing it. I have no doubt.
So I'm going to select that. And now you go...
And again, there is definitely some... There's some weird glitch in there. I don't know what the hell that is. Because it goes here.
So I'm going to select that. My purposes today. So I'm going to select that.
Okay, so I guess what I'm sort of complaining about here a little bit is that I kind of want... I want all these values. And I kind of want... not like that. I kind of want them on this invisible clip. I mean, it's not invisible. But let's just do that at the beginning of this clip. So let's paste that in here. Can I do that? I don't think I can do that. All right, let me just zoom in a little bit here. Okay. So, in fact, that's probably the problem. We've got two properties that aren't actually the same. Gonna go back, gonna go back, gonna go back. Paste those in.
My purposes today. So I'm going to select that.
All right, so I might even just do this manually if I have to. So 1.42. Okay, that's the same. 72. It should be 29. -1. Okay.
So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see what's on that screen. And again, it's just that audio app. And I don't actually have the keyboard turned on, but that's not particularly important for my purposes today. The other option that we have here is capture cursor. So if and I'm just going to move this over to the side a little bit.
And again, this is sort of a classic moment where I move things off over to the side so you can see other things. So again, it's probably worthwhile bringing that in. But I feel like I want to bring some more of me back in here somewhere, but I'm just not entirely sure where to have this.
What's on that screen. And again, it's just that audio app.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to bring this back here. Let's just see.
So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see what's on that screen. And again, it's just
I'm going to say there. All right, and again, I'm just going to make that transparent.
you see what's on that screen. And again, it's just that audio app. And I don't actually have the keyboard turned on, but that's not particularly important for my purposes today. And again, in fact, this whole sort of section here, we could just make that transparent as well. Although I could potentially also just cut that out. So it depends on how tight I want this. On that screen. And again, it's just that audio app. And I don't actually have the keyboard turned on, but that's not particularly important for my purposes today. The other option that we have here is capture cursor. So if and I'm just going to move this over to the side a little bit.
All right, and I think, and this is kind of another decision because it may be easier for me to adjust the position of this screen by cutting this clip. Although in this case, I don't think I will do that. I think I will just make sure I go back to the beginning of this clip and just make sure I've got those initial keyframes set. And again, I'm going to do that for both zoom and position in case I need to do that.
Then the other option we have here is capture cursor. So if and I'm just going to move this over to the side a little bit.
So I'd say here is probably a good place for this to happen. And probably the X value is more important in this context. All right, I'm not entirely sure how much of this we'll need to see or where I'm actually demonstrating the use of the cursor. So let's just have a look.
Here is capture cursor. So if and I'm just going to move this over to the side a little bit, but if I have that turned on, you'll see when I move the cursor around that app, you'll see where it is. And again, that's really good for software demonstrations, especially when you want people to know where you're moving to and where you're clicking, so you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure you get the right.
All right, so I think once we've sort of demonstrated that the cursor can be seen, I kind of want to take that off. Okay. I think around here would be good. So let's do that.
For software demonstrations, especially when you want people to know where you're moving to and where you're clicking, so you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure
and again, just gonna cut this. So I feel like I've been concentrating for a really long time and my brain is very tired, but that's okay. We will wrap this up in a couple of minutes. What I want to do is I'm just going to make that clip transparent and this clip transparent as well. So we've got that.
And again, that's really good for software demonstrations, especially when you want people to know where you're moving to and where you're clicking, so you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure you get the right key on your keyboard, and you can sort of drag that in. So if you're like, especially if you've got one of those super wide.
Okay, and again, this is a really, it's funny because I kind of clip this because I think this is genuinely a really good clip.
Hold down the Alt key, make sure.
But I'm gonna definitely have to reposition this quite a bit. And again, let's do this from the beginning and let's turn on the zoom and the position. And again, I'm not really sure where exactly on the screen this will live, but we'll find out shortly enough. Let's go maybe down 40. Okay, let's try this instead then. Okay, cool. And essentially all I'm really describing here is how we can sort of crop this and zoom in on it. So we just want to make sure that we can see the most of it. And again, I think that's pretty good. I think we will actually need to adjust the zoom though here, because I think that's going to be too much. So we want to sort of show that, but then you're sort of seeing the clip underneath it. Let's bring this up a little bit. All right, so this is probably a little bit of a negotiation happening here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And again, let's try and center it a little bit more. Oh, what have I done? Go back to the clip we're actually working on. Okay. There we go. I don't know. I mean, I'm just eyeballing that at the moment. I think that's okay. People to know where you're moving to and where you're clicking, so you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure you get the right key on your keyboard, and you can sort of drag that in. So if you're, like, especially if you've got one of those super widescreen monitors and you want to... So, and I kind of want to go back to me when I start talking about the use case for this. So those extreme wide monitors. Super wide monitors, and you want to share just one part of it. This is a good approach to do that. And I think I might even just get rid of the rest of that clip for the duration. So again, let's go back a little bit. And you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure you get the right key on your keyboard, and you can sort of drag that in. So if you're, like, especially if you've got one of those super widescreen monitors and you want to share just one little part of it, this is a good approach to do that. All right, I think I kind of, I jumped too quickly to that clip. I really do want to show a little bit more of that cropping. Sort of drag that in. So if you're, like... So let's actually start here where it says, like, so if you're, like, especially... So where it gets to especially. So what I want to do, I'm just going to make this clip opaque again, 100%. Key on your keyboard, and you can sort of drag that in. So if you're, like, especially if you've got one of those super widescreen monitors and you want to share just one little part of it, this is a good approach to do that. And I could even potentially bring in some sound effects for that last section if I wanted to. But I think all in all, that's looking pretty good. I've created this whole thing in pretty much real time. So between yesterday's stream and today's stream, it's taken about 2 hours. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be this elaborate. Normally, I probably wouldn't make it this elaborate, but I'm just having fun with editing at the moment. So I've got this here. I can potentially go and make some more changes. Maybe I can look at the audio. There are parts of this where, just because I do have sort of a compressor on my audio here, there are sort of breaths and stuff that I'd probably be inclined just to go in and actually take out. If I'm getting really pedantic about that, but let's not dwell on that for today. What I might do, let's just play through this whole thing, and I'll probably call it a day, and I'll just sip some coffee quietly while this happens. But if we want to capture an entire display or an entire monitor, we can do this with display capture. So if I go down to my sources, I click add a new source, and we want to go to display capture. Again, you might want to give this a particular name. I'll call this one field monitor because I know that's the screen I'll be capturing. And we've got the caption method. If you have problems with one of these, you can explore the other ones, but generally I just leave this on automatic and move on with my life. But this is the point at which we have our different displays. But in this case, I'm just going to use my teleprompter. You will note that it's actually not 1920 by 1080. It's a little bit smaller, which is fine for my purposes today. So I'm going to select that. And now you're going to actually see what's on that screen. And again, it's just that audio app. And I don't actually have the keyboard turned on, but that's not particularly important for my purposes today.
The other option that we have here is capture cursor. So if and I'm just going to move this over to the side a little bit, but if I have that turned on, you'll see when I move the cursor around that app, you'll see where it is. And again, that's really good for software demonstrations, especially when you want people to know where you're moving to and where you're clicking, so you can turn that on and off. Hold down the Alt key, make sure you get the right key on your keyboard, and you can sort of drag that in. So if you're like, especially if you've got one of those super widescreen monitors and you want to share just one little part of it, this is a good approach to do that. Okay, so all in all, I think that's pretty good. I must admit that just around that cursor section, there's some keyframing I want to sort of adjust a little bit, but I'm probably being a bit pedantic about that. But I'm probably going to leave that there for today. It's been so great to have your company. I hope you're having a good time at this time of year. I hope you get a bit of time to chill out at this time of year, because if Christmas has taught me anything this year, I'm really very tired and a little bit burnt out, and I kind of need to take a step back and just chill out a little bit more. So I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow, but I'll probably be back soon, because I am really enjoying these sort of video editing streams, and I think there's a lot that we can learn together. So have a great day. I was going to say have a great weekend. I guess it's over now. It's technically Monday here, so even if you're in other parts of the world, it's probably Sunday at the latest. But anyway, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. I guess I should click this magical button and remind you to like and subscribe. That's always incredibly helpful. But take care, and I'll talk to you again very, very shortly.